It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. So I went Black Friday shopping. I was at the local mall. Me and my 4-year-old son were walking through heading toward the center court. It was just me and him because the rest of my family were ladies, and they were doing what ladies do. They were shopping. So we go passing through the center court, and I see a lady dressed as an elf. And she sort of was looking at me, and I sort of averted my gaze and walked a little bit more. But then you do, as you typically do, you kind of look back to see, are they still staring at me, wondering why they're looking at you. And there she was, still staring at me, and she waved me over. So what I quickly noticed what it was. Obviously, this is the Santa's throne area, and there was nobody in line. And here I am with a little kid, so naturally they're trying to get me to come take my kid over there to sit in jolly old St. Nick's lap. I kindly said no thanks and kept walking. But on the inside, I was actually pretty happy to see that there wasn't anybody in line and nobody sitting on Santa's lap. I'm not a fan of Santa Claus, and I know it's like a bah humbug. Why am I bah humbugging on Santa? It's funny. I'm not against Christmas at all. The older I get, the more in the Christmas spirit I actually find myself. The reason why I am against Santa Claus, I'm not against the idea of Santa Claus, but I'm against what we've done with it, what Santa has become. Namely, he is satanic deception. Some of you may think that's pretty harsh. But I understand something. If you're a Christian, you understand that deception is not exactly easy to spot. In other words, that is deception, right? You're not, evil doesn't come looking like evil. Okay, so am I saying Santa's evil? Kinda. I'm not saying people are evil. I mean, obviously, my parents did Santa Claus with us, and there was no evil intentions involved. When I talk about Santa, I'm not impugning motives of anyone. Remember, I'm saying this is a deception. And so motive is not it's more we're doing something we don't really understand why we're doing it. So let me sort of explain. The thrust of what I'm saying is that Santa is the PC replacement for Jesus. So let me give you an example. So here locally, we have what's called the Nights of Lights, where they light up downtown. And past couple years, I think we've pretty much done this, and we'll probably do it again this year. We'll go get on one of the local trolley things, and they'll drive you around, singing the Christmas carols. But here's the thing. It's a pretty long ride. Not one Christmas carol about Jesus. And I don't mind the other Christmas carols necessarily. I mean, the subject matter, it's fine. I don't care. It doesn't have to always be about Jesus, so I'm not a stickler for that sort of thing, but shouldn't some of them be about Jesus? I mean, this is sort of like Christ Mass, right? I thought. But not a one. No Silent Night. No Joy to the World. No Mary Did You Know. Or Oh Holy Night. None of that. Not one song about Jesus. Now, they have plenty of time to play garbage songs like Bruce Springsteen's version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Dominic the Donkey. but they got no room for real Christmas music. So this is a microcosm for our culture. After all, there's no nativity scene set up in the mall. It's a Santa throne. See, I remember there was this meme, this picture, this meme that went around where it was after Donald Trump was elected. You remember he had made this big deal about we're bringing Merry Christmas back, which always, I don't know, I like Donald Trump being elected, but I always thought that was a little bit of pandering and patronizing. But so this meme had him sitting in the Oval Office, and there's Jesus and Santa Claus standing there, and he says, like, "Welcome back, gentlemen," which I completely just infuriated me. I got to be honest with you, because to lump Santa in with Jesus in regards to this desire to avoid the public square is crazy. I don't understand that. Nobody finds Santa offensive. Nobody. Well, I mean, I guess I find Santa offensive, but nobody finds Santa offensive. So this is the thing that's crazy to me. Again, people are against Jesus. The reason why they're against the idea of saying Merry Christmas in the first place is because it says Christ in it. You say Christ. That's why it's now Xmas, and if it was Merry Santa Mass, nobody would care. So this is the war we're in. It is a psychological thing. It is a real thing. Let me get into some of the similarities, okay? Similarities between Jesus and Santa. So Santa sits at the North Pole. Think about the North Pole. It's the very top of the world. It's above the world, you can say. He's on top of the globe, looking down upon us all. So see how the North Pole is a substitute for heaven, where God sits enthroned. And Santa sits there, and he's making a list. So he's apparently capable of watching us all and creating a judgment and judging us all and issuing a verdict on whether we're naughty or whether we're nice. But it's Jesus who's the judge of the earth. It is Jesus, not Santa, who separates the wheat from the tares. Santa's magical. He's able to fly around the globe on a flying sled that looks like a chariot with magical flying reindeer and visit everyone and render his judgment by sneaking into their homes and dropping off gifts. It is almost as if Santa can do miracles like Jesus. And chariots are biblical symbols. And he flies around the globe like he's some sort of god. I mean, that's a very old religious sort of idea. And continuing the old religion theme is this idea of our children leaving Santa an offering of cookies and milk. This is, of course, religious in tone. Exactly the type of stuff that pagan religions did and still do. Santa brings gifts to us, usually catering to our self-serving materialistic side, while Jesus himself is the gift. And instead of bringing goodies, ask us to be humble and to serve others. Santa you always hear about, but never quite see, even though you believe. Jesus is always around you, you are told, but only via the Holy Spirit, which is by nature invisible. Santa is a myth that arose around a real historical saint. Jesus is the ultimate saint. And of course, atheists say, similar to Santa, as he's a historical person that's been mythologized. Santa says, ho, ho, ho. And the angels around the throne of God say, holy, holy, holy. The reason Santa is deadly is because nobody realizes it, and it's successful. A Pew Research study showed that 70 to 75% of Christian children leave the faith after high school. And Santa's aimed at the children. Now, probably the biggest reason for this is that we send our kids off to public schools where they indoctrinate our kids, telling them that scientific evidence shows they are not specifically created by God, but they're just lucky monkeys, just animals. So the message received at home is something very different from what's received at school. So who are they going to believe? They're stuck in this position where they've got two different polar opposite things. Logic, everybody's got that logical concept built into them. Both these things might be wrong, but even a child knows both of these things cannot be right at the same time. And who is it that wakes them up every morning, takes them to school, and as good Christian kids, they treat their teachers with respect year after year, and they're told this stuff? And we parents are doing this to our kids. And so there's this tension, this battle between opposing worldviews, opposing values. And mixed into this is this idea of Santa Claus, where every year we lie to our kids and tell our kids that this guy who does magical things, who this holiday is, Holy Day, by the way, is all built around, just like Jesus, sharing this same holiday. And then they grow up, right, and they find out that's the whole Santa thing. That's not real, right? Isn't it just natural for them to go, what about Jesus? Is that Jesus guy real? If Santa is fake, and we told them Santa is real, why isn't it a natural progression to go, I don't think Jesus is real either? This is why Santa is Antichrist. I'm not saying he's the Antichrist. It's just an Antichrist. It is a deception from Satan. Oh, and just to throw this in, sure this isn't a big point, but it's just interesting that the word Santa and Satan all use the same word. You just move one letter over.